Hi guys, I am Chloe Wyatt Taylor with Westlake Pro. I'm here with the wonderful Scott Gershin. Hello, Scott.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you yourself.
So you have had a wonderful, illustrious career. You have worked on everything from talk radio to Pacific Rim to Riddick, Green Lantern, so many things.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate within my career to have had a diversity. So as a musician, it would be able to play rock, jazz, metal, country, and taking my craft and my art and being able to apply it to multiple industries, as well as getting the ability to work with a lot of creative people. It's been fantastic, and I feel very fortunate that I've had that opportunity.
It is a wonderful opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about your early years and you getting your start. I know, we're going to go there.
Oh, we're going there.
So now, it is said that you were influenced by Apocalypse Now and Star Wars and all of those.
Sure. When I was a kid, I've always loved the art of storytelling. And even as a musician, for me, it wasn't about just putting a beat down. It was about a beginning, a milestone, and it's kind of a tease. So the whole point is even with music, it's like bringing the audience and teasing them, taking them somewhere, and it's going up a peak and then bring it back a little bit. So it feels like an audience gets to go on a journey. So that's just the way I've always thought of sound and music. When I saw film and the ability to start telling stories and to see some of the brilliant people in the day doing things, so, Walter Murch using helicopters and fans, combining it to use sound in a very subjective way to be able to enhance the story about how this character was demonized by the past. And same thing with the ear candy that Ben Burtt brought to Star Wars, where you just opened up a whole vista of new possibilities in other worlds, because we all want to live or escape into something else, into whether it's the land of Star Wars or the land of Star Trek or the land of somewhere. And I think that the land of romance. And I think that what's great, and the same thing with music, you want to just be taken somewhere. And so for me, when I started off, I just started looking at audio for movies and how it was being utilized. And, I don't know, it just became natural to me, where I started taking sounds when I was doing like Natural Born Killer. I noticed that, the way Oliver was showing it, that people were treating people like animals. Same thing with Heaven and Earth. So in both those films, I took animals of slaughter and the sounds of animals of slaughter and utilized them and sunk them up to the people being massacred and hurt, because they just didn't care. So when somebody on the dark side sees somebody, they don't see a human being. They see an animal of slaughter. So how do you take those sounds and apply it to give a psychological influence? I mean, ultimately, I think what my job is an audio psychologist.
Okay.
My job is to figure out what we're doing, whether we're trying to make little kids giggle and have what I call the giggle factor, or we want to make people think, or we want to scare people, not with horror, but with thought of what could be. And then use sounds in a way to help push the emotional buttons of an audience, and then try to take the director's vision of what the story is going to be and utilize my craft and my talents to better enhance that and make a more powerful project. Whether it's giggles or dark or something light. And also the use of no sound. Like in American Beauty, when I saw that, it was all about negative space, because I love art, I love architecture. And so it was all about, what don't I put in? Because then making things very scarce, which is like minimalism, it really is quite powerful if you use it correctly.
Sure.
And a lot of people are very nervous about silence, because reality is it's very uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable for everyone.
Absolutely. So if you use it correctly, I'm making the audience feel uncomfortable, and that's the emotion I want to bring. You know, and it's interesting. Here's what I tell everybody, and sometimes I lecture and I teach. Listen to somebody's footsteps, and you can tell their personality. Whether it's a tap, 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 or a but don't, but don't, but don't. And all of a sudden, sound and rhythm of life has a direct correlation to what somebody's personality or emotion there is. You just got to look. I think we're so conditioned now to no longer listen. There's so much noise out there that we filter it all out. Or we filter out what we don't want to hear. But what I tell everybody is just stop. Go to a big city and just listen. Listen and watch. Listen to the way the people react. Are they hurrying? Are they going slow? There is actually a music in the world of life. And it just, you know, but you gotta look for it. You gotta listen. It's not that I hear any better than anybody else, but I listen better than most.
And have you always been, well, has that always been the case, or have you learned to listen throughout the years in this career?
You know, I think it started probably in a couple different ways. I did a lot of, you know, acting when I was a kid. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
And you know, in New York and Arizona, so it was, you know, very regional. But here's the thing. What we were taught was to observe. The only way a good actor understands a character is if they study human beings. And I think that early on, without even knowing, I was taught to watch people and to study people. But then being a musician and being really into sound, I ended up listening as much as watching. And we are such visual animals. And that's in some ways, which is fun about audio, is that you can use audio in ways that people don't even know because they are thinking visually. So how do we take sound in a way that they're not expecting or they are expecting? You know, sometimes if there's a giant punch and the guy's going for it and it's there here and go slower and much more the opposite, it makes people go, I wasn't anticipating that. And again, that is part of the art of storytelling, is to, do we want to be predictable? Do we not want to be predictable? And it's also like rhythm, where as you pace something, my favorite, I didn't work on it, but if you look at The Shining, it's great. So one actor, usually when people talk, there's rhythm. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. And there's a certain cadence that people will get into when conversing. What happens is, when one person's talking like this, and the one's like, well, and they slow it down, it's like watching a singer in jazz, you know, who takes it and goes behind the beat a little bit and plays with time. And when you see great actors, you know, Jack Nicholson being one of them, well, he totally changed the time. Now, most people don't really know that was happening, but what they did know, the scene had a clock. Then when he spoke, it went. So what happens is people can't get into the rhythm, and people find that disturbing. Most people have an internal clock, or their clock is set by another person. So what happens is, when you start playing with that, it can become very unsettling, and that's exactly what he wanted in The Shining. So you can use the tools of so many different things to be able to psychologically control the emotion of the simplest things.